Hi everyone, welcome to the Whiteleyverse with me, Connor Whiteley, for another daily short story. Now, before I start today's story, please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you want to buy this short story and any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers and at your local bookstore and local library if you requested, and you can order paperback copies from Amazon. Now, here's today's short story. I hope you enjoyed just as much as I did writing it.
Heart around the stones. Feeling the soft brown mud under his feet as he walked, William smiled as he looked in wonder at the natural beauty around him. As he continued to walk on the trail in the southwest of England, William knew this was going to be a great day. Admiring the trees and small green bushes lining each edge of the trail, and the flat large green fields beyond, this was beautiful. The footpath to Stonehenge was stunning. Some people said it was a long walk, but William loved that. He loved being out in the open English countryside. The air smelt so clean and fresh, compared to the horrible dirty air of London and the other British cities. But William had to admit Edinburgh and Glasgow were great cities. Their air was fairly fresh too. Hearing the large minibuses traveling up and down the road behind the trees and bushes, William shook his head. Of course, he didn't have anything against these people, but if you're going to go to Stonehenge, then you need to experience it all, including the long walk through the stunning countryside. Looking up, William smiled at the sight of the bright, vibrant tree leaves and the bright blue sky above. The weather was perfect. It was going to be a great day. He had been meaning to come here for years, especially when him and his ex-boyfriend had decided to do some backpacking across the south of England. From the beautiful coastline of Kent to the historical and interesting counties of Devon and Cornwall. So many great memories of the food, the fresh air, the history, but most of all, the freedom to explore the country they lived in, and each other. Then William frowned as he remembered what came next. They got back to London and their corporate jobs. William an accountant, and his ex an employment lawyer. London was hardly short of work. William's eyes widened as he stepped into a large muddy puddle, and the cold, refreshing water went up to his ankle. That's why he always wore hiking boots when he was out. Returning to his train of thought, William knew he was happiest when not in London. The cold climate, the traffic, the noise, the pollution. It sucked the life out of him, and not the way he liked it. Breathing in the wonderful fresh air, William didn't regret his choice to leave London and his boyfriend to a life of moving. But a life in the countryside, and naturally, William had found it difficult at first. He didn't like leaving his friends and family in London and Kent. But he did this for himself. He needed a new life for adventure, clean air and... William wanted to think of love, yet that seemed like a silly idea. Going up a slight hill, the mud continued to move under his boots, making him slip and slide. That's what was fun about the countryside. How each and every walk or going out could be made into a simple adventure just because of the weather. Sadly, that's what his ex could never understand. A part of William knew his ex-boyfriend had missed out something great. But William couldn't wait for his adventure to begin, and today he was going to visit a wonderful place he had always wanted to go. Looking around over the utterly amazing and beautiful flat green fields of Stonehenge, Luke couldn't help but smile. This was amazing. He was actually at Stonehenge. The land was so flat here, with thick beautiful trees growing in between the fields, with massive stretches of land left to nature. It was incredible. And Luke couldn't believe the sweet, refreshing smell of the air. It was actually clean. It wasn't polluted. It was how air was meant to be. He was surprised the taste of pine formed on his tongue. With the bright sun and the crystal clean blue sky beaming down on Luke, he couldn't believe how brilliant this day was going to be. For the past 2 weeks there was nothing but constant rain, but today it was perfectly sunny. Feeling the hot sun against the back of his neck, Luke wanted to continue to admire the stunning countryside and its massive fields for a few moments longer. But Luke knew he had to look at the mighty Stonehenge. Luke didn't want to look just yet. After all, this was so beautiful and perfect. The closest Luke had come to seeing land like this was in movies. He didn't really see this in the city of London. Sure, there were the old parks, St. James Park, Russell Park, and the others. But they were still in a horrible, polluted city. This nature beauty was in a league of its own. At last, he decided to slowly turn around and admire the mighty and all-powerful Stonehenge. He had heard so much about it through TV, books, and movies, but this was stunning, and these utterly failed to capture its beauty. In front of him was a truly massive stone circle made up of large gray stone blocks in a simple circle shape. One half of the circle was more complete than the other, but it was amazing. The stone blocks looked surprisingly smooth for its age of well over 2,000 years old. It was just amazing how things could last this long. The history of this place was full of mystery and myths. That's what made it so amazing. Luke's eyes narrowed as he focused on every little detail of the massive gray stone blocks, and the signs of aging were minimal. Sure, he knew a few stones had fallen over during its long life, but it was still impressive. Walking up as far as he could, before the waist-height rope stopped him, Luke really didn't want to leave, and at least he had a few hours left to admire it. The artist part of him wished he had bought his camera equipment, and maybe even his drawing pencils and crayons. But Luke smiled as he thought about the hard lessons he had learnt about that in the past. It was always best to go to a location first, see what it was like, and then decide if taking the equipment was needed. Thankfully, Luke had met a hot guy earlier who was also an artist, and he had said him and his wife, shame, the best time for artists in early morning or lunchtime on weekdays. Considering it was a Saturday early afternoon, Luke knew he might need to return soon. Something, out of the corner of Luke's eye, caught his attention. Thinking it was nothing, Luke turned slightly and, wow! There was an utterly stunning guy, a few meters from him. That very short brown hair was cut perfectly, and his strong muscles under his black sportwear t-shirts, very sensible, and his entire body just spoke of confidence and being extremely fit. Judging by the hiking boots, Luke knew this hiker had walked up here. Luke would have smiled at that alone. He had seen the route here and how long it was. That was some hike, so the fact hiker had enough determination and fitness to do it, that was even more appealing. Luke couldn't stop smiling at the hiker. He was perfect, fit, and he looked great. Then it dawned on Luke he needed to stop staring. He didn't want people to think he was a creep. Luke was a perfectly normal guy. Except the butterflies in his stomach said otherwise. The teenager part of Luke wondered what the hiker's name was. Him and his friends loved playing that game. Luke decided it had to be a hot name like Harry, Kieran, or maybe William. Luke really wanted it to be a hot name. But as Luke kept smiling at the hiker and looking at his beautiful face, Luke didn't care what the name was. The hiker was beautiful. Then it dawned on Luke, the hiker was staring at him too. William had to stop as he saw the majesty and beauty of Stonehenge. It was breathtaking, and the walk had made it an even greater sight. A small part of William wanted to tell everyone who got the minibus up here what they were missing. But maybe that would be his little secret. The long walk through all the soft mud and refreshing air had definitely made the sight of Stonehenge worth it. Staring at the immense chunks of gray stone blocks in the circle, with some making big stone archways, and some stone blocks fallen over and many more standing up, William couldn't believe that this was made thousands of years ago. It was a great achievement, and the walk definitely helped. It was amazing. Simply amazing. Now he was here, William felt the warm, gentle breeze smelling refreshing and clean air blowing across the open fields, and the hot sun beamed down on him. Perfect weather for admiring something so amazing. The sound of people chatting and the wind blowing was almost a reward in itself, as William stood there with everyone admiring the same thing. Of course, he was one of the few that walked through the breathtaking countryside to get here, but William didn't mind. William was about to admire the stone blocks when he saw someone looking at him. A part of William thought it might be a weirdo or some crept. The amount of them he had to deal with back in the London gay bars were unreal. Then looking at the staring guy, William instantly smiled. Staring guy was hot. The hottest person William had seen for ages. Definitely since moving down here. Staring guy's face was smooth, youthful, and squarish. His longish, stunning brown hair looked amazing in the sunlight. William really wanted to run his fingers through that perfect, soft-looking hair. Even staring guy's smile was breathtaking as he revealed his perfect pearly white teeth. Wow. Just wow. William wanted to look away, but he couldn't. Staring guy was just too beautiful. Then a small part of him wanted to kick himself because he never did this. William wasn't the type of guy who stared constantly like a teenage boy at others. He was a confident and showed interest in boys in subtle ways. He wasn't the staring type. Noticing his hands were sweaty and his heart was going a little faster, William wanted to say it was the long walk here that caused it. But he knew it was this beautiful boy in front of him. But what should William do? He didn't want to be pointlessly looking at staring guy. What if someone thought it was weird? Even worse, what if staring guy thought it was weird and didn't want to talk to him? Then it looked as if staring guy realized William was looking at him, and both their smiles deepened. As his stomach did flips and his hands sweated a little more, William knew this was going to be good. He really hoped he wouldn't blow it. "Hey," William said, instantly regretting it. That was a silly first thing to say. Staring guy smiled and almost seemed to laugh. "Hi, I'm Luke." William's stomach did little backflips, and the butterflies within him went crazy. Luke. That was a great name, it sounded great on the tongue. "William," he said. Luke gave William a boyish smile. Did he like the name? William wondered if his name was off-putting. It was a strange name. It was. William forced himself to concentrate back on beautiful Luke. It wasn't hard. "You walked?" Luke asked. "Yeah, the walking is amazing. Have you done it?" Luke shook his head and quietly said, "No." "Oh, it's amazing. We have to do it. You get to see so much on the way back. It's amazing." William realized he must have sounded like a desperate teenager by his excitement, but at least Luke gave him a small laugh. His laugh was cute, sexy, and hot. "I'll think about it." "You local?" Luke asked. "Yeah, just moved here recently." "You?" "On holiday, for the week alone." A part of William went sad at hearing Luke was only here for a week. It meant only a week to see him before he went on his way and lived his life. All whilst William stayed here alone and unloved. Really. He hated himself for thinking like this. He only just met Luke, but he was so beautiful. "You been here before?" Luke asked. "Not always wanted to come here. Only came because I'm single. Boyfriend didn't want to come here," William said. Luke smiled and nodded. The sensible part of William really wanted to kick himself. He never acted like this. He never wanted to drop, not so, subtle hints about his availability to a hot guy. "What time you heading back?" Luke asked. William cocked his head, unsure of what Luke was implying, but he understood after a few seconds. "About an hour," William said. "Meet back here then, and you can show me the breathtaking view on the walk." William smiled. If you want. If not, it's totally cool if you don't," Luke said. William almost laughed. At least he wasn't the only one struggling to act normal. He wanted to act cool, so William simply said, "Sure, see you in an hour." Luke smiled and started to walk away. He kept looking back with a massive boyish grin on his face. William couldn't stop smiling too. He really wanted this hour to go quickly. As the hour slowly counted down, Luke couldn't stop himself smiling as he replayed the encounter with the sexy, stunning William over and over in his mind. Whilst the artist side of him wanted to admire and focus on the massive gray stone blocks in front of him. With some fallen over, some forming stone archways and others standing high into the sky. And listen to the conversations all the different people were having around him. The other part of Luke wanted to only think about the stunning William. Breathing in the fresh, cool air that smelt of nature, Luke couldn't deny William was just amazing. That sexy voice, his fitness, just everything was amazing about him. Feeling the cool air gently blow across his face, Luke checked the time and thankfully there was only 15 minutes left. It was a shame. Luke just wanted to be with William and not looking at some stones. The stones were beautiful in their own right, but they weren't William beautiful. His stomach filled with butterflies at the thought. Luke smiled as he thought about William's name. It was a hot name, and the person was even hotter than the name sounded. Thinking about his holiday, the butterflies in his stomach calmed down a little bit as Luke thought about his holiday. He was only here for another week, then he would have to return to London. That noisy, polluted place with all the traffic. But life was so simple and beautiful out here in the country. There weren't any of the normal concerns like what time to catch the tube, where was the nearest black cab and everything that comes with London. But most importantly, William was here. A hot, beautiful guy who loved the countryside. A small piece of Luke knew he needed to go back to London, his job and all his friends were there. Yet he could make friends again, and there were these things called phones nowadays. Luke could just text and phone them. He just needed William. Looking back at the stunning massive stone chunks of Stonehenge, with the warmish late afternoon sun shining down on him, Luke tried to see himself living here in the countryside. Then he simply smiled, because it wouldn't be hard. It would be great since this countryside didn't have all the problems and difficulties London and other big cities had. This was a perfect countryside area, hopefully, with the amazing hot William by his side. Checking the time a final time, Luke gave a massive smile as he realized it was almost time. It was almost time to walk back with William. Luke had walked his heart around the stones, so now it was time to walk back with William. Feeling the soft mud under his feet, William looked away from the massive blocks of amazing gray stone as he admired the wonderful, breathtaking open grass fields around Stonehenge. This was why he loved the countryside. It gave him access to all this wonderful nature, something he never ever could have imagined seeing in London. Breathing in the stunning, refreshing, crisp air, William hoped Luke would turn up. Luke was adorable and so stunning. He was even more beautiful and amazing than all this nature. William really wanted to run his fingers through Luke's long brown hair. The part of him earlier that wanted to kick himself for acting like a teenager was gone. William didn't care about acting like a fool, he really cared about Luke. This was the first time since breaking up with his ex that he felt happy, alive and excited. Feeling the cool late afternoon air blow past him, William's hands weren't sweaty anymore, but his stomach still did little flips of excitement about walking back with Luke. It could be the start of something amazing. Of course, that's if Luke showed up. William wanted him to so bad. Hearing people laugh, kiss and chat as they left on the minibus, William gave them all a devilish smile, as he knew if Luke came they would probably have the walking route to themselves. They would be able to experience the stunning walk back in peace. But William still wasn't sure what would happen next. He was scared. William had been in this situation before, loving a really hot guy that dumped you the second things changed. William didn't want that to happen again. Could things be different with Luke? He wasn't sure, but he wanted to take a risk. Luke seemed exactly the kind of hot, kind, wonderful guy that a person should take a risk for. And a memory of William's mother popped into his mind, telling him to take risks because you don't want to regret things in life. Whilst he wasn't exactly keen on his mother, she might be right in this case. Wanting to turn around to see if Luke was behind him, William's hands turned sweaty, and he took a deep, refreshing breath as he slowly turned around. Thankfully, Luke, with his beautiful face and longish brown hair, was standing behind him. They both smiled at each other. William couldn't believe his luck. This beautiful boy wanted to walk back with him. He ran his fingers through Luke's perfect soft long hair. They both stared for a moment into each other's eyes. Holding each other's hand, as they started to walk back, with the soft mud moving under their feet. William knew this was going to be a great walk back, and definitely a great week, and hopefully a lot longer.
Welcome back everyone, it's me again, Connor Whiteley. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's story, because I flat out love writing, creating stories and sharing them with you. If you really enjoyed today's story, then please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithms. And if you want to buy this short story or any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers, and you can get them from your local library if you requested, and you can order the paperback copies from Amazon, your local bookstore or local library if you request it. Lastly, if you want to support the channel or on a one-off basis, then you can now buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Connor Whiteley. Also, if you know anyone who would enjoy today's story, then please share it with them. I'm always really grateful when you wonderful people help spread the word about the channel. So, thanks for watching the Whiteleyverse, and I'll see you again soon. Have a great day, everyone.